Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to do this from here as we move along. But welcome. And I know new faces, everybody's here. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and do the roll call. Meeting starts at 3:39.
Here.
Yeah.
Here.
Amanda.
Here.
Lieutenant Hopkins.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Hank.
Here.
Patrice.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
And Paula.
Present.
Thank you. Rosa was out today and had a conflict.
Well, we're going to go ahead and do any approval of member absences. You said it was both of them? Correct. You said a note? Yeah. Okay. All right. So she sent a note. Here's the excused absence. We'll go ahead and we can, for this particular action, unless people do want to do a roll call on absences, we can, because I've been in several meetings, we can just say if there's any one that may not be opposed to that, and if there is, you can state so. If not, we can go ahead and just do an approval. Is there anyone opposed to approving any of the absences? Okay, so we have, actually, I need to take a motion. So can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, and have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, so Amanda first, Hank second. Is there anyone opposed to the approval? Being none, motion carries. Okay,
I abstain.
you abstain?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So one abstention, motion carry. All right. Okay, approving of the minutes. So I have been in a lot of meetings. We can do that way, but it depends how people are feeling about that. So has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes last time? And you're waiting for me? I apologize again. All right. If we have, so can we have a motion to approve the minutes or any changes? Or we'll do a motion in a second. If there's any discussion, we'll do that. So first, approve. Okay.
Was that Patrice?
Patrice, yes. Okay.
Second.
Okay, Paul, second. Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none. Okay. Are there any non-approval or abstentions for the minutes? Abstention, Patrick abstains. Any non-approvals? Okay, seeing none, motion carries. Hearing and seeing none. Okay, all right, thank you all. All right, public comment. Do we have any public comments? No one's on the line. No public, but one day we might, so, up there. Okay. So, seeing and hearing no public comments, we'll go on into our unfinished business. So we'll start with the workforce statistics, and then at 4:30, we will get some. Yeah.
So something that I don't know that you may have missed it, it's kind of been before you came in, but we have a couple members that are gonna have to leave.
Oh, what?
So I know, Jennifer said she needed to leave by 4:45. Amanda, so you have to leave by 4:30.
Right, I have an advisory board committee meeting at 5 down south that I have to get to. So I need to leave at 4:30.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll still have a form. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. All right. Welcome back. Okay. Thank you for coming as much as you can. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so I just wanted to make a note that the highlighted workforce statistics reports are the ones that I actually printed and brought. I printed the other ones, but I left them back at the office, so I apologize. So starting with environmental management for 2022. And looking at table one. For 2017, total number of employees was 113. Minority representation was 47 or 41.6%. And female representation was 58 or 51.3%. And then in 2022, there were a total of 106 employees. Of those, 53 or 50% were minority, and 54 or 50.9% were female. Moving on to table 2. The top 2 highest categories with most employees was professionals with 79. Female total 35 with or 44.3%. And the minority total 39 or 49.4%. And then the next highest was office clerical workers with 14. Female total 12 or 85.7%. And minorities 9, 64.3%. Moving on to table 3.1 for hires and rehires. There were a total of 2 hires for this period. One or 50% was a minority hire, and the other one, 50% was female. Looking at rehires, there were also 2. One was minority and one was female. Moving on to table 3.2 for terminations. There were a total of 14 terminations. 7 of those, or 50%, were minority, and 10 or 71.4% were female. And the highest reason for terminations was employee initiated. Then moving on to table 3.4 for promotions and demotions. There were a total of 24 promotions. Of those, 12 or 50% were minority, and 14 or 58.3% were female. And for demotions, there was a total of 1, and that one was minority. Moving on to table 4. For determination of complaints, there were a total of 0 complaints for environmental management.
Any thoughts, any discussion? I can tell you, I like the idea of the stats. Per se, the breakdown of minority representation and female representation. So that's good. Being a person that has been in, areas that cover public health, environmental sciences, engineering, things like that. And so I think it's actually, they're doing fairly well, 6.6%. African American, 6.6%, Latino could be better, but we talked about 6 alliances, so that being, there's a lot of places that folks get to go to. But I think, in general, from what I know, it's pretty good. We have the dashboard of it also, so that might be helpful. So anyway, that's my comment. I'm not necessarily surprised by those numbers, but at least they're not in 3% or 1%. No percentage. Thank you all for getting this up for us. Now, there's the all, which what we're seeing right now. And I think last time when we had the tutorial from Mommy, we could can you go into the, management drop-down tab? As we can go to management and non-management, I think that was some of the particular interest. Okay, so that's telling right there. Management is only 16.7% female. So, any questions that people are seeing here?
Yeah, can we see non-management, and was there a place on this dashboard where we could see classifications? 'Cause I think that was one of the reasons why.
Seeing that. I tried scrolling down. This is all the information that shows here. And I was trying to hover over some of these, and I guess I could try clicking on it. Oh, but it highlights that section. So I don't think there's job classes.
Could go back and look at this. But in the sheet, like, we got some classification, right? Special rules.
Because this is before 2024, the job classes do not list.
We don't have a newer one. That's a smaller department, so they don't really go at work.
In fact, we'll be reviewing environmental management this year, 2024.
So one other interesting comment that I haven't really said, Evan, that I think we need to all put a lens on what people who want to activate or an activist on within the unions. One of the
I didn't understand what you say, activists and the
activism.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I was trying to think of the word. I saw a documentary this weekend that talked about, and I had a discussion with one of my friends on some of the issues when we're just thinking of equity and equity outreach, with respect to women, males. Then we get down to the different ethnicities. But one of the things I heard, which I had not heard of, were some of the plights of folks who of Asian descent that sometimes often get overlooked for positions, even though they may be in strong numbers, but don't even get to be into management positions. And that was something that I run into, from my own, personal hue and background and discoveries and things like that. But I did not know that was a situation for others. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if that's worth anything, as we're thinking of discussions, and I'm seeing, large numbers in ethnicity and race, even with the Asian individuals or Asian descent, but I don't necessarily see, I'm not sure whether there's management role or not. So that may be something we also need to have a lens to take a look at. And hopefully across the board, all of us will be looking at, giving people opportunities to come to the table, sit at the table, because if we don't get exposure to the management and the roles and the sponsorship, often people never get there. So that's why we see these gaps in salaries and other things between genders and ethnicities. So I just wanted to point that out. Yes, sir.
So for this department, Richard, you clicked on something where it was a 24, was that based on age?
Yeah, I think
Part
I
of the
clicked
pie
on 55
chart. So if we go back to just the full pie chart and then the
because something is selected, yeah. It's,
so if you click off of it, I wanted to see what Ross was potentially. So with management, if we could look at that and see, is that reflective on what? So out of the 6,
We don't see any black or Latino in there at all, but there's one Asian, five, right? And there's only 16, less than 20% female. I'm sorry.
So I was just seeing, like, based on the narrative you just mentioned, did that reflect anything that, what you were watching? Say yay and nay.
Yeah, 20% would be of management of Asian. That's not bad. That would match the demographic number.
Right.
The other thing to keep in mind is this is such a small department.
Right, but that's why I said
Yeah, it's
20%.
just like there's 6 people in management positions.
Right.
It's like you make a 1-person difference and that's huge percentage wise.
True, right. I'm just saying there's 20%,
Yeah.
which would be.
Yeah.
You can't, no one would complain about that. That's pretty good. But on the women's side, that is an issue. I mean, look at that, 20, anyway. I don't know what they can do about that, but it looked like 50% of the staff was female. So why is that? It's the question. We can move on.
So I want to note that there's 0 African Americans.
Jackson
So,
or Latino.
or Latino.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I kind of pointed out that other information, just because I have that background. I mean, we're only at 6%, in both 6.6 for both Latino and African American when I saw that. So it's hard to hold people in that field, but
How can they have only 6 management in a department with over 100 employees? That doesn't make sense. To have 6 management. I mean, the other thing said they have over 100 people in this department.
It's probably counting, like supervisors are counting as more line level supervisors.
Oh, okay.
It's probably the difference between management, because when we pull out of our personnel database, we pull management by union. Or so it'll be either the 050 management unrepresented or the different management unions. Is that how this one pulls? I know that we've done that before when we've tried.
I'm not certain.
Because supervisors are hard to pull out.
Supervisors are not management, right? Okay,
Right,
No, not usually.
yeah.
is there a supervisor category?
no, that's what I'm saying, the supervisors are a difficult category to pull out because a lot of times they're
Which is higher, supervisor or manager?
managers.
Okay.
Because sometimes the frontline supervisors they're in the same union sometimes as the line employees. Or they don't always, sometimes they have supervisor in the title, sometimes they don't, so it's difficult to pull those.
Okay. Thank you. Patrick, you had a comment?
So on the job category chart, where would the supervisors fall under? Because it's really kind of hard to figure that part out. That's
You're speaking to the job.
Yeah,
category
with the-
comparison.
yeah, where would the supervisors?
It's just all under professionals. I mean,
Right, but I think it depends on what they do. If
Yeah.
it was a supervising attorney or like a supervising inspector in this department, they'd probably go as a professional. But if it was like a clerical supervisor, they'd probably still be grouped in office clerical.
Right. It's,
Because with these categories, some of the jobs are grouped by types.
So there are people on deck. If we look at professionals that we can move them. I don't know what those age breakdowns are there. Anyway, something to look at. There are other questions from committee members?
yeah, because again, if we're looking at it with a discerning eye, it would help us to know what the differences are. So when we break down the representation, we actually have something to point to versus potentially guessing, because right now it feels like it's more guessing than not, because if Richard, if you scroll back to the that chart, we still don't know. It makes sense that if management and supervision are lumped under professionals, then that might increase those numbers, from 6 to 17 or 18. Maybe, but we're guessing. At the end of the day, we're guessing. And it would help this committee if we knew more of what the classifications are and the demographics within that classification in order to make any kind of recommendation, any kind of objection, any questions that we might want to ask that department. Right now, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and that's not going to suffice with making recommendations.
So here's a question. Thank you for that.
For the-
Any other comments? Because I have a question that may be able to help, because one of the things, so based on what Patrick was mentioning, in a future year, like, if we're able to make adjustments, toward the end of the year of November, when we're saying what, because we talked about, if we're looking at these stats and we're moving through and we're looking at it in the lens of, hey, is this data telling us what we want to know, or do we want to start seeing some other types of breakdowns? Is the breakdown that he's asking for possible, so that we can see differentiations or distinctions between management and supervisors with classification and demographics in maybe in 2025 stats?
So, the change that you all implemented, by vote back in, I think it was November, adding the new table, which kind of feeds off of the job, category comparisons, does specify, specific races, and then it also lists the job categories, so that way you're able to identify. We're just not there with the 2002 or 2022 or 2023.
The classification.
Also, let's break that down. Maybe.
Going 2024, moving forward, yes.
It will. Okay.
So when they did a presentation in this room, or was it in this room or was it at animal shelter? I can't.
Animal care, I believe.
Yeah. I thought they had it broken down by classifications. I kind of remember they
On
did
this,
on the dashboard.
I didn't see it.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it was.
I thought they had. So
Position stats.
Maybe there.
Oh, I didn't.
Maybe.
some point.
Oh, oh my God. Maybe that's going by.
By job, here's the job classes,
Yeah, I thought I saw.
but it's by vacancies, not
Oh.
necessarily,
Vacancy aging.
yeah, not necessarily.
Positions, are you able to select different drop downs at the top where it says drop titles?
Oh.
Click
make
off.
Make it all, for the management / non-management, make it all. Let's see that one.
Make it all,
Yeah,
and what do we want to do, list all the job titles?
yes.
That one. It just shows you the graphics.
That's weird.
So it's colored by.
Oh, yeah.
These are just listings of color, so this is 79 positions out of 117 positions that are non-supervisorial.
They're environmental specialist, non-supervisor.
Broken down by you.
What is unrepresented?
Not unionized, not people,
Oh,
they're not
okay.
part of that bargaining unit.
Okay, well, it is factored into future ones. Okay, all right. Well,
And where's that data coming from? If it's factor,
Same, so all of this data, on the dashboard, and then all of the data that we pull from the workforce statistics reports comes from Compass. And it includes the job classes, ethnicity, race. In our workforce statistics reports, we don't pull age, so this is pulling some additional information.
Well, so the good thing is what we're seeing that we're not seeing right now, will be available, in the future.
Just a note, one of the things that, we have done in the past or will continue to do is once a workforce statistics report is reviewed, we will send a memo to that department. So if there's information that you would like to pass on to the director, you can certainly give that feedback and I can type it into the memo to them. And essentially it just says that the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee has reviewed your workforce statistics report for 2022 and please continue your efforts in workforce diversity. And the committee would like for you to XYZ.
Sometimes they'll say like concerns were noted in the areas of. So we can note concerns, we can,
Okay.
if there's anything we want to point out.
Are there any concerns that the committee would like to express in the memo?
We need the data. We don't have the data to even, for me, I need to see what's missing. Somebody said because it's a small number, maybe that's why it's reflective on one person or one demographics. Is it based on just that 6? Because again, we cannot tell if supervisors are, upwardly mobile, so we can't tell based on what we're seeing today.
So EMD will be reviewed in 2024. I'm not sure where in the schedule they are. I haven't sent them anything at this point, so I would imagine soon I'll be
Right.
sending them.
And it might look good. We just can't see anything.
Well, here's a question, if I might, are we able to ask them, they may not have that information, what their breakdowns are with respect to ethnicity for their supervisory versus management? Or is that something that we need to add for the next round?
Yeah, the departments typically wouldn't know,
It would be.
they wouldn't have that information reported by. Because we do the stats from Compass and give it to them. They don't typically run the stats on their own.
So for the end of 2023, though, we've already pulled those stats. It's not going to give you this current April 22nd data, but it's going to go back to December, and I guess 26th or 17th or something like that, the end of the 26 pay period. So that information is available. I just haven't put it into the workforce statistics report to send it to the department just yet.
So I just have a question. I see that with the human assistance program, we have 2022 and 2023 information. It just seems like if we get for these others like health services, finance, 2022 and 2023, because you're looking at 2022, that's pretty old. I mean, this stuff changes, right? So you kind of want to see that way you can measure it then. You can like say, well, this is what they did in 2022. Here's what they did 2023. How is it trending? Is it trending up? Is it trending down? You just see 2022 and this is 2024. It's kind of like,
There's a reason for that,
okay.
unfortunately, but I'll let either.
What's the reason?
Because we're behind. We're trying to, if we move through it, we'll be able to have these comparisons.
So we're behind reviewing it, but we're not behind, we don't have the data. So say we were caught up, we still don't have the data for 2022 to actually compare it, just like
2023.
or 2023, because they said they don't have it available. So say we were up to date, we still don't have the necessary information, in my opinion, to review, to compare, because it's not here. It's on Compass. Someone has it, but we don't have it.
And to try to give, well, we think this or we think that, and it's 2022, it's kind of like there's a delay and maybe they've had some improvement in some areas or whatever we're looking at, it could be. So I don't know, I just the concern, but I guess everybody's doing the best they can, so I'll just be patient.
Does EEO office have any kind of response? I don't know if I accurately, that's what I've been hearing in
Yeah.
the past. because
If you're, what you're looking for, the additional data you're looking for is what job classes are included in each group. We can probably run for each department that has an old report, we can run a list of what job classes are included in each group. We could do that going forward. But that's still not going to answer your question about how they compare to 2023 because they're an every other year review. And their 2024 review hasn't come up yet. So we're looking at 2022 playing catch up. There is no 23, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's every other year.
For some of the.
Small, if they're under 300,
Okay.
they're under 300, they're.
So that would, okay, so, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So that would be for this health services, finance.
Yeah, that's why like health services at the 2022 and a 23, or human assistance 22 and 23, those are larger.
But yeah, I don't know, maybe if we could see like a little footnote or something, then I wouldn't have that question. Yeah, yeah, so it's good to know smaller departments, meaning less than 200 or 300.
I think 300 is our cutoff mark.
Yeah,
Some of them, like first 5, I think have 5 people. So some of them are extremely small.
right.
And I think we've got some that are floating around that mark, the 300 mark, but a lot of them are very small.
But it's a good idea to have a comparison. So even if it's small departments or large, even if it's every other year, having the 2022 would help when they get to 2024. So we still can compare.
Oh, right, yeah,
So we still can compare.
right, exactly, yeah.
I think that would be a motion on the table to here on out
To put those-
to provide it, and then we can have it in the archives to compare. It's just up to,
Oh, yeah, well, we could.
at the pleasure of the committee, but we still can compare. It's just compare every 2 years for the smaller.
Right, yeah,
Oh, so okay, if we put a 2023, we could, we're seeing 2000, well, this is every 2 years, if we're looking at the environmental management, we're seeing 2020 data, 2022. Right?
so that would be good if we had 2020 data.
It is
Go with
there.
this. Oh, is it?
It is
Okay.
there.
Okay, so that's why they do it like that.
Yeah, we do get past data.
Okay,
On the environmental, right? Am I not reading that right? See 2020 and then 2020. Okay. Any other further discussion? If not, we can go to the next one. Okay. So I think we're going to see some improvements in what we've been asking for in the future. It's just not there yet. Becoming. Okay, let's move on to finance.
In looking at finances, 2022 workforce statistics reports, and specifically table 1. Finance for 2017 had a total of 165 employees. Of those, 81 or 49.1% are minority, and 105 or 63.6% were female. In 2022, finance had a total of 203 employees. Of those, 127 or 62.6 were minority, and 134 or 66% were female. Moving to table 2, category comparison. The top 2 areas for most employees. First was office clerical workers with 112 employees. Of those, 81 or 72.3% were female, and 73 or 65.2% were minority. The next highest was professionals with 43 employees. Of those, 25 or 58.1% were female, and 26 or 60.5% were minority. Moving on to table 3.1 for hires and rehires. Finance had a total of 46 employees. Of those, 34 or 73.9% were minority, and 31 or 67.4% were female. There were no rehires for this period. Looking at table 3.2 for 3.2 for terminations. There were a total of 42 terminations. Of those, 28 or 66.7% were minority, and 24 or 57.1% were female. And then the two highest reasons for terminations was retirement or disability retirement and employee initiated or no reason given. And looking at table 3.4 for promotions and demotions. Finance had a total of 45 promotions. Of those, 32 or 71.1% were minority, and 35 or 77.8% were female. For demotions, there were a total of 5, 2 or 40% were minority, and 3 or 60% were female. And last, I'm looking at table 4 for discrimination and harassment complaint. Finance had a total of 1 complaint.
Any discussions on this one? Some comments, we don't have the breakdowns, what we're looking for, but I mean, from what I'm seeing, for 2022, with respect to just representation in areas I didn't think I was going to see, like representation in finance, it seems like they're doing well here with, I guess, the census comparisons and so forth. They've exceeded or close to where the number should be with respect to demographics. And so I put a plus mark by finance. We can take a look here. That's what I'm seeing. Observations. The department will be doing well. So with that, we had a department that wasn't doing well, but this is the second one in my time here that I've seen do extremely well. I would like to commend them in their letter that goes out, and at least that they seem to be doing well or continuing the progress. But I think what I would like to do is have Ben Lamera, the director, come in and present to us and tell us what they're doing. Going well. What's that?
And retired.
Oh,
Chad Rindy now, Rindy.
Chad. That's my thought. I don't know. Patrick.
So again, before you
What's
make
it like?
that, I don't know if that was a motion or,
No, I'm just saying we can ask people. I don't even think it needs to be a motion. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there that if I see a group that's doing well, because we asked the group that was not doing well to be asked to come in. We also have the ability to ask those that seem to be doing well to come in and we can learn more about what they're doing.
right? So again, in reference to the last group, still don't know what those potential promotions look like. We don't know if the doing good is at the entry level versus supervision or managerial level. So I would be hesitant to say that they're doing good, because a lot of times it can be based on entry-level jobs and no upward mobile opportunities. So I don't know that because I don't see the classifications. So doing good is more broad. And Department of Finance seems to serve the whole county. So yeah, based on the county population for the different demographics.
Yeah.
But when we drill down to the purpose of this group, which it will be, recruitment, hiring, promotion and retention, we just don't know because we don't have the visual.
Well, true that. I do understand that, but I know from, and you may or may not have been on this committee a while ago, but I don't know when it happened. HSA, I believe, had done some, tremendous work, and they were doing different outreach in different forums, just things that they were doing. We may or may not know. I'm just saying that they would like to hear, what are you doing? That may reveal some information on whether it may be good for, the cause. From an entry level perspective, and I also agree with that, some places they're not even looking like they're reflecting. Once you can get your foot in the door, then of course there's opportunity to move up. But if you're not even seeing any people in the door, well, there's your initial problem right there. They're not even present. So here at least they're present, and now we have to be able to say, are people moving up into management and the supervisory positions? We don't know, but.
So again, that's why I'm saying, hey, you are doing well in recruitment and hiring. However, we noticed in retention, you're not, and in promotion, you might be or might not. Again, I don't know, because I can't, or we cannot see that. So that's
We may
something,
not be able to see for.
that's something we can ask them, because
We can actually.
we can ask them, like,
Yeah.
what are the numbers? And Encompass, EO office has the information as far as demographics, and I believe classifications are correct. Yeah, so I mean, I'm on board with the doing well, if we can point out what areas, but I'm on board with being as transparent as possible in order to say, you might be able to work on this, or what are some of the roadblocks or speed bumps when it comes to promotions? Because just because you might have, let's just go back to the other department, 6 managers, it's still, does that mean that it's only reserved for one demographics? Because it only looked like there was 5 in one demographic and 1 in one other demographics. Because
So what about?
so I'm just saying, does that necessarily mean because there's a small number?
Right.
So I don't know what doing good means.
Yeah, did you see something that said, termination?
No, I was just looking at it and it looks like it's pretty, spread out. So it doesn't look like it's just one group that's
Right.
being singled out. It looks like it's pretty, and then when you get down to the reason for termination, then most of them look like, well, retired or just,
Right.
employee initiated. They just probably maybe moved on, got promoted or something. So I think if you kind of look at that, that may kind of give you an idea of what's going on. And I think that's good. But now a deeper dive is always good just to see what's going on.
Right.
And I think it was Amanda was saying that we might want to see pay scales. That kind of lets you know where people are. Yeah, and then, then it takes all the guessing out of it, even if you don't know, you can have classification, but you can see the pay scales, right? Who's in what pay scales? That's really important.
Well, here's a thought. There's two, well, there's a couple of choices. That when we see someone, an organization or department underperforming or doing what might seem to be well, we could, when we actually bring them in, some of these additional stats regarding pay scales, whatever we can pull out, that could be provided. Pay scales, classifications, job classifications, or whatever data that we do have, that could be provided to the committee prior to those speakers coming in. And then we could, shoot some questions at them based on that. I'm not What I am rolling back a little bit on is, for these, and what might be in the back of some folks' minds on the, the MVP awards and so forth. I don't know if we have all that yet. I'd like to do that, but, let's, we'll kind of wait and see, to see how that goes. But what I am saying is if we bring a department head in, we'll have more information about them and what they're doing by bringing them in and hearing about it, at least anecdotally versus, or maybe even statistically, versus not inviting them in. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So there's an indicator that they seem to be doing something
Really well.
well, indicator, not necessarily, but an indicator. And so I am thinking as far as, getting on some departments' cases, I also want us to, consider celebrating the department if there's reason to do it. And they'll tell us, they'll say, thank you so much, we didn't know about that. So,
And if we need to get on their cases, let's get on their cases, because that narrative tends to mean something bad, but we might want to say, here's some of the things we've seen, are you working on it? They might tell us something that we don't see in the
Exactly.
stats. So the narrative from the chair is, oh, if we get on their cases, we need to come and lead this other group that looks good. That's what I hear. Maybe I'm wrong from here.
No.
Because I heard the word, what if we're gonna get on their cases, then
Well, I'm saying,
I just heard that.
but what I'm saying is when we look, in the same way that we don't have the information, right? Those that.
And that's all it is. We don't have the information.
Well, what I'm saying, those that have been underperforming, we're gonna ask them the same question. We don't have the same comparisons for them as those that are doing well. But hopefully, as we ask, we'll have more knowledge about what they're doing than what we have currently, since the statistics don't tell. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah. So we have an indicator that they're
Right, and I didn't use that word.
So indicators both ways, and it behooves us to ask, right?
Exactly.
Before we write up anything.
That's why I
Either way.
said, I'm not, this is just to get information. I'm not, I don't think we have consensus on the MVP award or anything, and maybe we don't have the comparison data yet. And we said that's what we were gonna look at this year. So if we're gonna do that. So what I'm asking is it the pleasure of the committee to ask the finance department to come in. I would like them to come in. I'd like to hear what they're doing. Does anyone object to that?
And what would you like for them to present on? Because it's helpful for whoever's coming in to have an idea of what they're going to be presenting.
Oh,
What they've done.
yes, go ahead.
What they've done to get their numbers up to, parity, like they're doing real well. Representation.
So I'll just add that part of that information is in the narrative. And this finance, we will be reviewing finance this year.
Yeah, but even if it's in the narrative, we want to hear it from them. I mean, that's cool that it's there, but it's,
And I think the terminations look fair. I mean, if you just, without even doing a real deep dive, if I saw some big numbers somewhere and didn't, but across the board where you see representation, I mean, it looks like that looks pretty fair. And then most of them left because they retired or they left on their own. They weren't laid off or disciplinary, that's when you have some real problems there. If you see a lot of disciplinary problems and, it's just like average, right?
So may I go back to what questions I'm presenting to the finance? I have so far, what are you doing for recruitment, training and promotion opportunities? Something like that?
yeah, but how about, for me, I would say, this would be anecdotally, how do they feel that steps that they're doing that are implemented to achieve?
The numbers that they have. they're
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. What, there may be something special. Thank you, Amanda. Yes, sir.
How many employees do they have in this department?
One,
Total.
was it one?
Currently 203.
12. So it's a smaller department.
So I think that would be, then maybe what areas, because they may want to do more. They may see some areas that they feel like to do better at.
please forgive, so what innovative steps they're taking to what?
To increase their diversity in some of the staff.
What have they done? How are they so successful? We don't want to, like, you're doing this wrong.
Yeah,
It's not that sort of thing. It's just, your numbers look good.
yeah.
You have any ideas? I think it's because more people are into finance these days, but you like to hear it from.
I have another question. I like that one. I also asked to see, what steps are they taking to cultivate, management, leadership? If that was something that we don't know about, they can tell that would be, of the very population. What they do. Anyone else have something that they might want to come back to?
Yeah, I would like to know the actual classifications as they, and the demographics in those classifications, along with other questions, so we can actually.
So with that, can you all provide us before they come in, what demographic information that you are able to provide from? That you mentioned that you could probably bring.
So this was 2022 workforce statistics report. We've have the countywide workforce statistics report that has the job classification. So that's going to provide you all. We've already done. Yeah, we've already done 2023, so I can provide both of those to the group. And also separately invite for a future date to give you opportunity to review that data, I guess.
That might solicit more questions. I can't give you a question without having them a look.
All right. Well, this is good. This is good. That's part of what we said we were gonna do as our objectives. We're at 4:30 right now. At the pleasure of let's pause for a minute and then we can decide what we want to continue to do. Are there more questions regarding the finance department? Hearing and seeing none, we will now pause and move on to new business. Item number 6. Then we may decide what we want to do is we want to come back to the staff for continue with the rest of them. Okay, communications, so we're on new business. We don't have anything agenda, but there was a concern, Patrick, that you asked to remain when we're talking about location sites on your email.
I said technical.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So
Right here.
I'll just highlight that, based on the committee's request, community development and district attorney were invited, and they're both presenting on May 20th.
So let's just move on to the next item. So where is that? Thank you for that. And then,
Actually, before we move on, if I did need to know a date for when you all want to be at the Green Haven location. So that I can ask them to reserve. They're already holding these dates here. But
That's nice.
they want to free up their calendar in case they need to work, so.
You talk about for May?
Any of the 4 days.
Yes, well, May, June, August, and July, I think possibly we might be doing voter registration because of the committee that Amanda is on. For any of these 3 dates minus July.
It looks good.
everybody okay with that? Did you have, that was just a yawn. Okay. Okay. I looked like it was concerned. Okay.
I'll
Okay.
ask the whole for me and I'll cancel the remainder dates. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Are there any other reports that the EEO office would like to share?
The additional I can think of.
Well, I want to thank the EEO office for two things. One, accomplishing the request that we have for the dashboard. So we've gotten to that, so thank you for providing that information. I think that was helpful. It looks good and it helps us with our thinking process. Number two, I want to say thank you for communicating to the community development and district attorney department. So with what we just talked about earlier, it would be good to have any kind of demographic comparison that you could provide to us, in addition to what we've already looked at for these two departments, since they'll be coming up in kind of what we just talked about. So, we talked about some of the pay scales, the graphic information.
I can provide that to you. I'm not sure you'll have time to review it before they present because they're coming on the 20th and it may not be beneficial to review that material before they present.
Why not? We might have questions.
I can certainly provide it.
Right, we might have additional questions, because I think the committee asked for them to come, right? Because we had some questions. We might have additional questions based on the demographics that we requested for the other departments, like classification, salaries. We might have other questions.
And what we need to do is, I think, when we send that out, so that the committee does not have to go back and find these reports, that you can send the reports. Again, I know you've already done that for these two departments. So that when we get ready to have these people, we will have some of our, I have my notes, so we'll have some questions.
I just have a question. So should we be at the Green Haven office if they're coming in, or should we be in this location?
Where they,
Community development.
district attorney.
They're gonna come to our location.
District attorney is downtown, aren't they? Community development.
I'm just thinking of logistics. It might be better for them to come here than to go out. We can do the Green Haven maybe the next meeting.
I got the impression that both departments were going to be present in person as opposed to the option of virtual. They were given that, so.
And do you know where community development's at?
In downtown, because they're with.
Like, aren't they in that
So we might want to be here then.
building,
The
the 27?
Green Haven the next meeting.
Yeah.
That's a good building. So
Yeah.
that's a good point. So, committee member Paula has suggested that we, maybe have our 5:20 meeting here and then we use Green Haven for the second date that we both talk about that. Okay.
So anytime we have a presenter, we're gonna be here. Is that what you're suggesting? Because then the next,
No, I'm not suggesting it. I was just wondering where they located.
right, because so they're down here, and then finance is in this building also, right? Or close. I don't know where finance is, right? They're here, right? So then that would maybe be the June meeting. So are we suggesting going forward that anytime we have a presenter, that we just have it here?
That could be
Because it shouldn't matter. They should be able to, because I have to go from there to here, so why can't they go from here to there? Because I work on that same street, 2 minutes away, so why? I mean, they're just presenting. It's not like we're not touring their facility. They're just-
Whatever.
No, I'm just saying, going forward,
Just try.
right, but the finance is gonna be next.
So you're your suggestion is moving forward if we have a presenter that we just
It is just cut through
the change. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
because if we say, let's do Green Haven in June,
Alright.
we have finance, and it's gonna be
All
right
right.
here.
So does that seem to be,
Is finance
but-
rescheduled for June?
No, but it's gonna be
Okay,
next,
schedule them for July then? I mean,
Schedule them whenever the committee would like.
I thought you said we wasn't using July or something else.
July, we're going out to go to Ridge.
Right.
Mhm.
But where's finance? The office down
They're
there.
located here.
Right. So
So, committee member Paul had a suggestion, committee member Patrick had a suggestion that seemed to be similar to, so I don't think it needs to be, that's not an agendized item, but the idea, if we have speakers, guest speakers come, that we, try to, have the meeting here at the 700H building. Does that seem to be okay with everyone? The protocol?
Yeah, they're
Well,
here.
depending on where they're located, because I kind of feel like if they're one of the Bradshaw offices, that end would, town would be easier for us.
Well, we're not,
So I mean,
as he was pointing out, we're not necessarily trying to say whether it's
we're
easier.
just trying to do it here.
Yeah, we're just trying to come up with a policy or protocol that says, hey, we'll meet here and, if it ends up being convenient for them, great. If it's not, great, because it's not necessarily convenient for all of us to come here, but we just, to cut to the chase, that's just what we're gonna do. If people agree to that. What do folks agree to that? Does that seem reasonable? Any opposition to that idea?
Like being flexible.
Okay.
then this whole next meeting, since we said it, at Greenhaven and that, whatever.
That's what it is.
I mean, either or, because I gotta come from there to here.
Well, I'm
So-
hearing that. So we'll just leave it as it is. They have to come where we are. Okay.
To come where we at.
There we go. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. That's good discussion. I'm liking this. Okay, any,
Hey, I'm sorry, I thought you said that they weren't opposed to us having a meeting here. No one said anything, so I think we all agree that it should be here.
no, let's do,
Flexibility.
she said flexibility and he said that. So why don't we just go and see if we do a straw poll? We can, it's not an agenda item, so we can't, but yeah, it's just, like in Congress, they're trying to get a consensus to see what people are thinking before they actually agenda. If we need to agendize it, we can. So what, are
I'm
you?
flexible.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me, really. I wasn't trying to start
Okay.
a thing about the meeting.
What is your thoughts, Patrice?
I think we should have it here.
Okay, what do you think, Annette?
I'm flexible.
Flexible? Patrick?
We voted for Greenhaven next month. After that, I'm flexible.
Okay, Greenhaven next month after that flexible.
As long as they have parking, flexible.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so what we will do then, if we're flexible, let's do this, since everyone else, since there's no, we'll have the meeting at Greenhaven next month, since we decided on that. And then in the future, we will have speakers come here. Okay,
Ross,
yes,
so
so,
we're not flexible after next month. Because that's what I'm hearing.
but people,
We'll
okay,
put them in a rotation, right? 'Cause we have a rotation going, we know.
I think, what I was getting,
All I'm hearing is we're not flexible.
well, I was saying that people didn't care, then she wanted it.
We're saying two different things, but it's okay.
So if everybody's saying they're flexible, then why after next month? Well, you wouldn't have it here. No, I'm just asking. I mean, it's fine, but if we're flexible, why would you
Okay,
potentially? You can make the motion, but I heard flexibility as the straw.
Well, do we have a schedule where the meetings are gonna be? I mean, I think if we had a schedule, then maybe we could say, we want this one here, that one
I
there.
think we'll just go with it, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, we'll just go with where we decide we have to have the meeting and the speakers can come. Okay? Or we'll do
So
it.
let me get this straight. So May, we're having it in Greenhaven. June, we're back here, correct?
Flexible.
Because it seemed like we go back and forth anyway, from tech one month and next month we're here.
They're
So,
gonna put together a rotation schedule as we have been discussing to try to accommodate, people's location. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a rotation schedule of sites based on the availability, as we've been asking from before, and we'll stick with that plan. That's what everybody has agreed on.
I can certainly put together a schedule, that rotates you all to different locations.
Right.
I just need to know after, probably beginning August, where you want the next meeting. Seems like we have set Greenhaven 520, it sounds like June 24th is going to be here at 700H. And then it's likely July 22nd is voter registration
And the building is blacked out after that, so we can't use Veery after that.
after.
I have a question. Where's voter registration?
It's at 7,000 and 69th Street, so Florin and 69th.
Yeah, I remember that.
So after
I
that,
have, but I know.
after that, I'm just gonna leave it to the EEO office to just put a rotation of different sites. If there's an issue and we need something else, we'll do that. But meaning we have designated sites and we want to rotate on those sites. That's what everybody said.
I'm sorry, I guess the hesitation is you're asking for the EEO office to do a rotation and make that decision, and I don't think we want to make that decision.
But what I'm getting at is if we have, how many sites do we have available? 3, 4?
And I sent you guys the address for you to check out the other one.
Right, so if we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sites, then we rotate in that order and it's not available. So that's all I'm saying. It's not really for you all to decide. It's just we have 4 sites designated and we said.
Just be
we're gonna
in
vote.
order.
Yep, and we said we're gonna vote. Exactly.
If we have a meeting here, like you said, we'll do it, and if we don't.
We don't.
Hey, Ross, what's the 4 sites?
I don't know, I just made up a number. I don't,
That's what I'm saying. I know we have more than 4 sites, potentially, right?
I just gave an example. If we have 4 sites, whatever the designated sites are,
Just.
as they become made and determined to be available, we will rotate through those sites. That's what I'm just.
plug
We
me.
just
Yeah.
today while I.
Right, that's what I was like.
I was just using that as an
Okay, I
example.
appreciate it.
I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, dot, dot. That's what.
Okay.
All right, okay. This is good discussion. Any other thoughts? From the, I do not have any from the chair. Any other thoughts? Okay, all right. So, I think we've addressed your concern from your email to make sure that we decide that addressed.
Yeah, because there might be another site once this gets fixed.
Okay.
So that's why I was like.
We're moving forward. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, thank you. All right, so, what I'd like us to do is, I do not see any unfinished business items. I do not, that we need to cover, and I would like us to use the remaining time to continue to go over some of the staff. Everybody okay with that? All right, so if nothing further, we're going to move back to agenda item number 5, and we'll look at first 5 commission.
So we can look at first 5, you just don't have a hard copy, is that okay?
You show them on the screen, yeah.
You did your best. We allow mistakes, thank you. Trying to get some, okay, thank you. What's our corner? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're still good, thank you. Thank you for coming. Oh, you know what, I know one of your friends, Teresa?
Riviera?
No, well, Teresa Smart.
Oh, yes.
She
She
lives
used to be our agent.
Yeah, she lives around the corner from me, or right down the street, she said hello.
Oh.
She spoke highly of me, I want to tell you that, all right.
We're looking at first 5 workforce statistics report for 2022. And specifically table 1. In 2017, first 5 had a total of 13 employees. Of those, 6 were minority, which is 46.2%, and 13 or 100% were female. And then in 2022, they had a total of 12 employees. Of those, 5 or 41.7% were minority, and 10 or 83.3% were female.
I feel bad, I underestimated their size, by the way.
Looking at table 2 for the job category comparison, the highest number where employees are is professionals. Of those, 9 or 90% are female, and 5 or 50% are minority.
Could you go back up to table 1, please? Okay. Okay, that's an interesting question that I'm looking at. Because I know the statistics in a lot of the area as far as, some of the, were first vibrant served, some of the under hard to reach community. And so I'm curious about the representation of the Asian and skewed there. It was high. Double. Close to that. Or at least in 2017. It's down. Might be something. Oh, I just wanted to see.
Looking at table 3.1 for hires and rehires. There were no rehires for this period and no rehires for this period. Looking at table 3.2 for terminations, there were a total of 2 terminations. 1 was minority and 2 were female. Reasons for termination were retirement or disability retirement. And then table 3.4 for promotions and demotions. There was 1 promotion. Of those, 1 was minority. There were no demotions for this period. And then finally, table 4, first 5 commission had 0 complaints.
I still got there's only 13 employees, right?
Richard, can you go back to
I'll leave that alone.
table 1? So for Hispanic, based on indicators, they're doing really well. But the other 2, that demographics that you point out, we have some potential questions, right? There's indicators that
But it's only 13.
doesn't matter. So do we accept because it's a small number that Mr. Chair, do we accept because it's a small number that those positions are relegated to one demographic? Do we accept that? Because every time I hear it's a small number, that small number seems to cover one demographic. So do we sit here and accept that because it's a small number? Because every time I hear that, it means to me that we're supposed to accept that because it's a small number, but every single time when it's a small number, that demographic is represented by one
Yeah,
culture. Do we accept that?
well, I don't know, but when I look at it, when I'm looking at for white non-Hispanic, that seems to be, well, it's a little higher, but it seems to be consistent. I don't know what the management is, but when I look at, like, because I have an office or so, or I've been in offices where there's just a smaller number of people, one person could, bump numbers up quite heavily. So what I would be looking at is, from the kind of work that I do, is there, with such a small number, I would give this group a pass because I would be saying, I'm seeing representation. I don't know what categories they are, but I'm seeing representation. And so when there's a board meeting or they're out, doing some of the work, I think they can actually have someone that's, especially with this particular work, reflecting that particular, community group, ethnic group or something, so that they can go and respond and hopefully identify well when and as needed. That's what how I would look at it. If I saw those kind of statistics and they had larger numbers of employees, 50, 60 or so, then I would have some concerns because I would look at that and say that looks a bit askew to me. That's what I would see.
So I look at it a little bit differently.
Okay.
So if we're looking at underrepresented are comparisons to the general population. And it's just like having a bunch of astronauts be teachers. Does it mean because we have like more astronauts in the area that they should be teachers, or should they represent people who can teach? Maybe qualified people. What I hear, what I've heard, thank you for explaining it a little bit deeper. What I hear is because it's a smaller number, that those smaller numbers in two cases today, and I'm pretty sure most departments in our county, smaller numbers still represented by one demographic. Is that okay? And if the county is looking at DEI, which means diversity, inclusion, equity and inclusion, do we accept that? And I don't think we should.
Okay.
I think we should look at what are the reasons that historically, and do we want to continue to accept that?
Okay.
Because again, most people feel the most qualified person should get the job, and I'm okay with that. But if you're continually passing the baton to the same demographic who will, I'm gonna make you qualified, or I'm gonna teach my friend, son, family member the job, yeah, you're gonna be most qualified. When I interview you, when I make the questions, when I select, you're gonna be more qualified.
Right.
And if this county is really committed to DEI, they will take a deeper dive into that and see why even the smaller ones are only represented by one demographic historically.
Okay.
That's what I look at.
I hear what you're saying. That makes sense. So, Paul, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think we might want to send them a letter and, just kind of ask them to,
Let's think about it. We have 4 minutes left. Let's see what we could come up with. Let's see.
Say that their numbers, they're okay, but we see that, they could improve in a couple areas, right?
Right.
Like American numbers, Asian numbers, we just would like to see more, because they have a small number.
Right. Well, I would say something like this. We want to say, we want to thank you for your, setting your statistics, and given the importance of your organization need to have, I'm saying a lot of words, diversified outreach. We would like to encourage you to, unless we want to bring them in, I don't think we want to bring them in, encourage you to please look at increasing some of your Asian and African American
some of
personnel,
your minority.
your minority personnel, increase those.
Oh,
Where do you go?
maybe I'm reading that chart wrong, but I'm looking at it, I see 7 white, and I see 6 minority. 3, 4, 5. So I see 7 and 5.
Mhm.
That's pretty good to me.
Mhm. True, I'm just responding,
So I'm sure we can do better. We got 7 compared to 5.
so you're kind of in line with what I was kind of
That's why
originally.
we just said we should send them a letter.
Yeah, just that's what, right, we're not reprimanding them, we're just saying, hey, please get, because how I look at it. Also, given what, Patrick was saying also, and then reflecting on that, how I see it is that, I said what I said earlier, I think they have representation, but I think, they're gonna need to, get out and.
A little more robust.
Yeah, if they can. So I would just say, but I hear what your point is. I don't think they're gonna be able to do. Yeah. Well, let's go to, let's see what the pleasure is of, I would be in agreement of noting something, to that effect. And they may not be able to change, just to encourage them to take a look at something. Maybe they say we can't do anymore. Maybe they can't. I would be okay. We're gonna do a straw poll. It's not a vote. What do you think? What's your thought?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your, Patrice, do you have a thought?
I was just, if we're comparing, we have minorities, diversity, it's not just Black, it's not just Hispanic, it's not just Asian. their diversity is looking pretty good to me compared to if you look at the numbers. We have white, and we have 7 white, and we have 5 minorities. I don't see the problem.
Women.
Okay, Annette,
I agree with Patricia.
okay. Your thought?
So just looking at the data in the census.
Yeah.
I see 40% Caucasian in 2020, but I see almost 60% represented in that small department, right? So I see 58 versus 41. Okay, so that's more than about 20 to 25% over, so the problem.
There's I just for a second, I mean,
Oh,
we
okay.
should say, we should state something. I want to just make sure. Shelley, do you have a thought? Do you think we should state something or say?
Well, I think we
Yes.
should treat all the departments fairly.
Yes.
So let's break down, like, if our goals are there to be minority representation, female representation. I don't think it's fair to be like, well, this department only has 13, this department has 2,200, like, the percentages is really where our focus should lie, right? Because that would be overall representative of it. So if you look, before we ding anyone, we should look at everybody's percentages and
Yeah, the same way.
pick a place to start. Like, it doesn't seem fair that just because they have, I know that they're a specialized kind of arena, but why are they held to a different level of accountability than every other county department? Because the whole initiative is across the board.
Across the board.
So,
Okay,
I mean,
so,
that's my 2 cents.
so in that sense, unless, I mean,
Well, I think how you might want to think about that is if you did a deeper dive and find out what classifications they are. Okay, then you might want to say, hey, can you look, maybe diversifying, getting more managers in. or
what I'm hearing
Getting them.
in the sense of, unless somebody, we just.
But I agree.
Unless someone is feeling that strongly, then we can agendize it if we need to. But what I'm hearing is that we should continue with the note to encourage them to continue to move forward with their diversity goals. Because I see 4 to 2, I see one sense that if, we should stick with, if we're just gonna go by percentages, that we should just stick with that. That would be like a policy. If they're not making their numbers, then we should just reflect that comment consistently every time. That's what I'm hearing. Unless there's an opposition to that.
Well, let's
Is that-
break down as far as the,
Okay.
we have
So
to
should we agendize it?
do that.
So let's agendize
Revisit
Yeah, but I think I might do a vote on a little bit of a policy now. As far,
I would like to agendize it.
Yeah.
I gotta get it.
yeah, I got. Yeah, we'll move to this. We're gonna recognize that we have a policy of whether we make a distinction between go by straight percentages or do we look at size? And when I'm hearing the business, it shouldn't be a factor. We'll just talk about that.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, oh, thank you. Second? Okay, so there we go. All those in favor? Yeah.
Hi.
Everybody in papers walking out the door. Right?
That's good. That's fine. You got, but that was good. Now we're coming up with policies on how we're gonna approach it. Thank you, Patrice and Annette, Shelley and Paul, for all that. That's good. All right.
Good night.
Good job. I like that.
Yeah.
Gonna do it, let's make it across the board. What area do you live in?